Welcome to the Panza Panza Forum. In the Yoruba language, the word panza is usually injected into poetry to express an uncomfortable, uncensored, and inconvenient truth. The Panza Panza Forum is candid conversations about the life of African immigrants in America as it relates to their adaptation to their new home. While some may find it easy to integrate and can balance between retaining the original African culture while accepting the culture of their new home, many continue to struggle to find a balance between both worlds.
Hello and welcome to Panza Panza Live. This is a podcast where we discuss the lives of African immigrants and their assimilation into Western society as they raise younger generations in a country that is quite different from their own. We also explore the experiences of children of immigrants as they balance the African and Western cultures. We present to you this informative, interesting, and expansive dialogue about the intricate experiences of African immigrants in America.
Welcome to Panza Panza. I'm your host, Kemi Siriki, and today we're honored to have Dr. Uchenna L, also known as Dr. Lulu, joining me today. I'm so excited about this conversation. Dr. Lulu, as a patient fondly calls her, is a Nigerian-born certified pediatrician for over 30 years of clinical experience that she has. She's also an advocate for LGBTQ plus community and mental health. So how I met Dr. Lulu on June 25th, 2020, while watching CBS This Morning. Dr. Lulu was also featured among many other parents on the show who were showing support for gay pride. Seeing her talking about gay pride and her support for her son on a national TV was a lot of a fresh of breath for me, especially within African immigrant community. Being gay is frowned upon. To be gay or a parent of a gay child is not acceptable in individual countries in Africa. To be declared a gay in a place like Nigeria could lead to many years imprisonment or even get killed. After seeing Dr. Lulu, I immediately sent her email asking her that if she would be a guest on Panza Panza podcast with my finger crossed, okay, and hoping that she will respond with yes. I was surprised and happy to see that she accepted the invitation. And I think this conversation is much needed in our community, especially coming from a loving mother who accepted her son as a member of LGBTQ+. So, Dr. Lulu, thank you again for coming. Can you fully introduce yourself? Talk a little bit about your background to our audience, including your family and professional background, mostly your activism, engaging with LGBTQ+ and mental health and suicide prevention.
First of all, thank you for reaching out. As expected, a lot of people reached out to me. I know many people think, for some reason, unknowingly just assume that because you're on TV, you're not approachable or you're not reachable. But the truth is, most people on TV are just regular people and they're just going about their business, and you see them on TV, but they still want to connect. Everybody wants to connect. Everybody needs connection. If you didn't know that after 2020, you know that now. Everyone needs connection. So for me, I'm about that connection piece. And yes, I myself am in the LGBTQ community. I'm not just a parent of a child in the LGBTQ community. I'm also proudly in the LGBTQ community and have family members and friends who are in the LGBT community. Nigerians, like any other country, have people in the LGBTQ community. They're Nigerians who are living their lives out loud, which makes me very happy. In Nigeria, and still in the LGBTQ community. I'm not afraid of Nigeria. In Nigeria, you can go to jail, you can get killed. In America, you can go to jail and get killed. I think people think it's only Nigeria. There are more people in the LGBTQ community getting killed in Texas every single day and everywhere else than maybe even in Nigeria. So I want to first correct that notion. And the second tiny little bit of edit in my bio is my child is actually non-binary. Most people, they are male presenting which means they have a masculine energy or they were born and assigned male at birth. But today, their gender identity is non-binary, which means that they are neither identifying as male or as female. So that's another correction. It's hard to explain in a 1-hour session everything that I know. So we'll just take a little piece of it today and just talk about gender identity. Gender as entity is the way any human being presents. Right now in the world, the more common presentation is what we call the gender binary, which means you're either a male or a female. But the truth is that 1 to 3% of population, so 1 to 3% of 8 billion people are born intersex, which means they've got both sexes. 1 to 3%. I start with that because that's something that we as doctors, me as a doctor, and all my co-doctors know. And most people know that people are born with both sexual organs. And so the way to look at it, the easiest way to look at it is that just because something is more common doesn't make it right. I want to say that again for those at the back. Just because something is common or popular or even accepted doesn't make it accurate. I say that in the premise of a Black woman who lives in America, which I like to spell America with 3 K's, who lives in America where racism is popular, it is accepted, but it's not right. I like to say that in a country where religion is accepted, is popular, but as you and I know, is not right. I say that because as a Nigerian, I know that my forefathers did not practice Orthodox religion, and there's nothing wrong with them. And so I don't care today, as a 52-year-old queen, I don't care what anybody else thinks, because we've been given a brain and we've been given the power to know and decide for ourselves what's right and what's not right. As simple as that. And I like to leave that conversation right there, because Nigerians will say, who know, go know. And who know, already don't know. That's it. And so I'm going to leave it there. I don't care the pastor. I don't care the size of the church or the size of the mosque of the imam. There's one universal commandment. One, to love your creator, whether you call it Amadioha, or you call it Oduduwa, or you call it Shango, or you call it God, or you call it whatever you want to call Buddha. The universal commandment is to love your creator and then your neighbor as yourself.
Yes.
One, there's a reason why we have one commandment. And unless you're practicing that one commandment to the fullest, don't bring your religion, don't bring your attempt to try to convert me to me, because I'm too old to see something that is right and follow something that is popular. Let me say that again. I'm too old to see something that is right and leave it and follow something that is popular. Because to my knowledge and to yours and to your listeners' knowledge, I'm yet to see the person who went to heaven and came back to tell us all about it. And until that day, I'm going to love my child that God gave to me, that my ancestors gave to me, to raise for them. Because my child doesn't belong to me. I've been given my child as a gift to raise for a finite time, and then give the child back to the universe.
Yes.
And I'll be damned if I'm going to spend the time that I have, the limited time that I have with my child, judging them and nitpicking and finding fault which is the way we were raised.
Mm-hmm.
You got 97 in your test. What about the 3?
Mm-hmm.
The people who got 100, they have 2 heads? Shut up. Go in the room. Children are seen and not heard. Finish the food on your plate, whether you like the food or not, whether it makes you, whether you're allergic to the food or not. You must wear this dress. You must do this. You must act this way. These are limitations that parents have been placed upon them by their own parents, who placed that upon them, which we now place upon our children, which is trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it because I just want to follow a fad. Listen, I'm a 30-year-old veteran pediatrician. If nothing else, I learned that in school. Trauma is trauma is trauma.
Yeah.
Just because something is popular doesn't make it right. Just because parents raise their kids by yelling and screaming and yelling some more doesn't make it right. Most parents who yell at their kids, who are honest enough, will tell you that they feel bad when they're done.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, they know that the yelling doesn't work. Because if yelling worked, you will only need to do it once.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not here as a preacher. Preachers are not all in heaven. Heaven is not full of preachers, because preachers are human and therefore fallible.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even think it's fair for us to put so much pressure on another human being when you yourself have been given the capacity.
So think. It is so important.
The Yoruba people would say, "Le bâton."
Mm-hmm.
You've been given the capacity to think.
Yeah.
Le bâton.
Yeah, it's so important what you're saying, because this is part of why I started this forum, because a lot of time there's an intergenerational trauma that we don't even recognize within our community that we brought from home, that we are not actually seeing that we were being traumatized as a child, and we think it's normal. And we discipline our children the same way that we've been disciplined. We yell at our children, we talk down at them the same way we've been talked down at, and we think it's normal. And that we are not thinking about the repercussion of it, which is actually what is affecting many of our people within our community. And I think you and I could have that conversation on the side in itself, which I think I'm going to call you on, about childhood trauma, how it affects from one generation to the other.
My TEDx talk is about childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone is welcome to Google my name and my TEDx talk, and you see where I talk about how childhood trauma does indeed cause mental health challenges later on in life.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody says. And yes, I am arrogant about it. I am actually very arrogant about it.
It's not a matter of you're passionate.
No, I am, no. There's passion and there's arrogance. I'm intentionally choosing arrogance because I want people to challenge the truth. I need people to challenge the truth. It's not about passion. Yes, I have passion, but I'm adding an element of arrogance in it because I want people to challenge me after they've gone to check the truth. You must check it for yourself. And so I dare you, because the dare is arrogance. I want to dare you to challenge the truth.
Yeah.
And then come back and let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. The fact that children are beaten to a pulp in Nigeria, they have scars left on them, they whoop them, they bust their lips, then they take it on their wives, and they beat their wives, and they beat, and then people say, oh, don't leave your husband because they're supposed to stay married. Mm-hmm. Please don't tell me that 2 + 2 is 5. Because somebody who is in a marriage and staying in the marriage because she doesn't want to leave, because she doesn't want people to say, what are people going to say about you, when your husband is about to beat you to death, to the point that my own auntie was beaten to death by her husband. Tell me what is right about that. And so please, when you see something that is wrong and you perpetrate it, you're going to go to hell first before the person you're trying to save them with your religion. I'm not picking any religion against the other. I was raised a Catholic, so I'm not picking any religion against. None of them is better if the person does not practice the universal law. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. And when I went to Bali 2 years ago, I realized that Buddhism is one of the more woke religions when it comes to seeing each other as humans first. If we just dare to see each other as humans first, there'll be no tribalism, there'll be no racism, there'll be no homophobia, there'll be nothing, because we see each other as worthy. Yeah. But in Nigeria, you will see a church with a huge pastor that has an airplane and an air jet, and the neighboring city around it is a slum, is a squalor, and they're giving all of their money to their first lady for her birthday or whatever, to the pastor for his church. Meanwhile, they cannot afford 3 square meals.
Yeah. But that's part of what indoctrination and actually programming the mind of the people.
Exactly. Thank you.
It takes a lot of work that has to be done with that, because even when you see many of our people who are even in abroad and they are well educated, they have all these degrees and they cannot think on another level. Because to go to school and have education is different from actually continue educating yourself, because the school's supposed to wake you up in certain ways, and you need to actually re-educate yourself and diversify your knowledge. I've seen many of our people who have PhD degree, in their specialty, whatever you want to call it. And when it comes to having a conversation about diversity of issues, they lack that kind of knowledge. Just because somebody have a PhD does not mean they have all the knowledge that is necessary to take upon many conversations that is taking place, which is why I have problems sometimes with our so-called academia within African community. And I said, Nigeria has so much PhD holders. If you put all of them, I don't know whether you are familiar with Olumo Rock. If you put all of them on Olumo Rock, their weight will crush that Olumo Rock.
I believe it.
Shatter it into pieces, but they cannot come with a curriculum that we educate the masses of their people, because our people have PhD as a way sometimes of oppression to oppress other people that I know more than you. Apart from that, there's nothing useful about it. And I challenge some of them with a PhD. I say, how many research have you been doing? How is the diversity of your knowledge? So we have a lot of all those issues that we need to talk about within our community. So I just want to ask you another question, which is part of what I know you are passionate about. This platform, like I said before, we talk about uncomfortable conversation. We talk about immigrant experience in the diaspora. What would you say are some of the challenges and the struggle of being African immigrant and a Black woman in America? Because last year I wrote an article on my blog, which is called How I Became Black, an African immigrant experience about race and identity. So as an immigrant, there's a difference between Black experience and immigrant experience. So how would you analyze that?
I don't know, because I think when it comes to experience, everybody's experience will be valid and will be individual. My own personal experience is I am at the intersection between my children, who I call Nigerian Americans, who are 100% Nigerian and 100% American, and me, who am only 25% American as far as I'm concerned, and 75% Nigerian, because my brain is Nigerian, my mind is Nigerian. However, the 25% American is just because of the environment where I live. I give that piece of my life to America. But being an immigrant is very unique. I love my accent. I don't try to change my accent. I'm never going to try to sound different, because I actually like my accent. I love the fact that I have a Nigerian accent. I also love the fact that I speak.
And many people wonder, oh, wow. I said, yes, I speak 8 languages because I really want to be able to communicate with people at their own level. And that I may not be Wole Soyinka, but I know that there are some things that I know that he doesn't know. And being enlightened is what I like to use than being educated.
Yes.
It's different. Being enlightened means that you're actually aware of your surroundings. You're actually aware that when you are in Lagos, you have to act as Lagosians do. And when you are in, in San Antonio, you need to act as San Antonians, even though you're Nigerian. You cannot come to Nigeria. If you do something into America, if you say waka to somebody, they're going to look at you because they don't know what that is. But if you go to Nigeria and do waka, you get to slap. So being an immigrant means doing your own homework and learning about the nuances about the people that you live in, and also teaching them about your own. I have a whole book about how to teach your children about racism. Why? Because I'm a Black woman who has experienced racism. But we all live in America, and there's racism doesn't even exist. Nigerians who voted for, or in their mind at least, they voted for Donald Trump as a president because they thought that Donald Trump is a Christian. I'm concerned about Christianity as an entity being used as a weapon against your own self, really, self-destruction. Because for them to do a whole parade in Nigeria for a man who you and I know for a fact doesn't have an ounce of practice Christianity in his bones, is one of the dangers of not even being an immigrant and yet be thinking in your mind in Nigeria as a slave. I'm not talking about immigrant now, I'm talking about a slave. The kind of slave mentality that would take Nigerians in Nigeria to have a whole parade for Donald Trump in Nigeria. That is the ultimate form of slave mentality. And you're right. Part of it is Christian indoctrination. When you go back to Igbo land, the Igbo language, the original Igbo language, there's no male or female pronoun.
The same thing with
There's
Yoruba.
none. I know that. In Yoruba, the same thing. But in Hausa, there is. In the same country, we have languages that don't have any male or female pronoun. Why do you think that is? Because when you go back to the LGBTQ plus community, the people who are non-binary, they don't have male or female pronouns. So let's talk about that for a minute. That meeting point where my own language and your own language recognized in the way before the colonial people came, that there's no pronoun for man or woman. Going back to the origin of language, where do you think languages came from? Language is a form of communication.
Yeah.
So that means the old Igbo language didn't see a need to separate male from female, man from woman, and Yoruba language too. Why?
And that's why the name, there's no genderalizing name.
Thank you.
A woman could be, if I say my name is Kemi, you don't know whether he's a male or female.
Exactly. Uchenna is unisex. There's no Uchenne. It's just Uchenna. It's unisex. I want people to, but what we're doing is the same thing that Christians do. They go to the Bible and pick the verses and go to the buffet and select the verses in the Bible that they want to use for a certain discussion. The same thing that we do now. People forget that your own language that you speak today doesn't have, it's unisex. And I was saying the other day on my Instagram, I said, if you're walking down the street and you see this pair of glasses or you see this mug, you're going to say, somebody forgot their cup. Why? Because you don't know if it was a male or a female. But you say somebody, which is one person, forgot their cup, which is plural. If you want to say they, them, it's plural. They forgot their cup on the table. They. But today, if my child tells you that they are non-binary and their pronoun is they, them, you're going to say, why? It should be he, he. But my language, Igbo, doesn't have he, he, or she. My child, who is the next generation, that's why I said I am the bridge between my ancestors and my children. Me. I am the person that will uphold. I am the person that chooses to recognize that indeed my children deserve to be my children because my ancestors saw them before they were born. My ancestors gave my kids to me to raise for them. My ancestors who did not see male or female produced my child who does not recognize themselves as male or female. Mm-hmm. It's a very deep thing. It's a very, very deep thing. It's not for the faint-hearted. Even the Bible says you should not throw your pearls at swine because they will not recognize that they are swine and that they are pearls. They're just going to trample on them and turn around and even attack you for throwing the pearls at them. The same thing with the knowledge that I have. It's not for everybody, and I'm not here to tell anybody who is not ready for it. As for me, I must be true to my ancestors and to my children. And when I die, I'm going to leave the legacy that I did that. And nobody else matters. Not even my children's father, who is as homophobic, or well, now he's changing his mind because he's seen that his child is like, I'm done with you. Mm-hmm. Life is too short. Life is too short for us to spend it judging. And sadly or coincidentally, studies have shown that many, many, many people who are homophobic are actually closeted gays themselves. Studies have shown that. Why do you think that is? Because that person who knows themselves that they are gay or LGBT or whatever, because they don't have the courage to live their life truthfully, they are now attacking those who are living their life truthfully. Many, many, many pastors in America, many, many, many pastors, many, many, many priests, which is why I was saying at the beginning that it's not even fair for us to put them on a pedestal because they're human just like us. They don't know more than we do. Many pastors in America have been brought out to be gay. But when they go to church every day, they're condemning gay. Mm-hmm. They're condemning their own self. Mm-hmm. That's to tell you the depth of self-hatred. The same reason why Nigerians will talk down on Nigerians.
It's part of programming, it's part of looking at the people, and then our people, the way I see is that we have not, majority of the people in our society have not developed critical thinking.
No.
In terms of looking at something and then analyzing it, and then just because they pour it down your face does not mean you have to take it like that. We've become a society, I mean, like I always tell people, I said that people speak grammar more than the white man in itself.
But Kemi, do you know what something you said at the beginning? Mm-hmm. They pour it down your throat and you don't want to. That is the real reason why in Nigeria, we hush our children. Mm-hmm. Shut up, don't say that. Because adults don't want to be challenged.
And I don't even think it's a matter of challenging for our children what they're doing. Children are curious and they want answer to questions.
Exactly.
And many of these
adults don't know the answer.
Yes.
Exactly. We're saying the same thing. They don't know the answer. Because they don't know the answer, they don't want to be put in an uncomfortable spot. And so they say, don't talk like that. Don't say that. Be quiet. Shut up. Don't say it. Or don't ask that kind of question. Just believe it. Just believe. Don't ask, don't doubt.
And I think some of our problem is also taking responsibility for your own action. We came from a society whereby everything is, in terms of even cultural spirituality and Christianity, where we blame everything on the devil or somebody doing certain juju on you. That's why you are doing what you're doing. To the extent people are not taking responsibility for their own action. And that's why development in Nigeria, it is so the way it is till today. Because when I came here, there's a saying among the Yoruba of people who lack a way to be able to manage their money. They have money management problem, whereby they just spend money on anything and they cannot account for their money. So in Yoruba culture, they call it agbano. Agbano means somebody just throw you bad luck, whereby you cannot account for your own money. So when I came to this country and I see people filing for bankruptcy, and I said, Why is that a behavioral issue, or somebody just throw you, some bad luck, some voodoo bad luck for you to be acting that way? So that's why we stuck in development, because we are not taking responsibility. We're not digging into issue of why certain things is taking place. Well, let's find.
No, but you have to go back to the fact that before religion came, they blame it on black magic. When religion came, they now blame it on the devil. However it is,
Satan.
If somebody is drinking and driving, the person made the decision to drink and drive. When they get in an accident, they will say, well, the devil made me drink. Now, the case of filing bankruptcy, I have filed bankruptcy. I filed bankruptcy because I was married to someone who was my ex-husband, who was hired to be my office manager, who did not do the part that they were supposed to do in filing the taxes properly. Donald Trump, the former president, filed bankruptcy 7 times. So filing bankruptcy is not on any kind of behavior. It's not anything. That's why America gives you a chance to do it and then recover. So America works. People file bankruptcy in America because America will give you the opportunity to do it as long as you learn from it, or well, even if you don't learn like Donald Trump, you can still become president after filing 7 times. So bankruptcy as an entity, it doesn't even come in this case only because it's not any kind of juju or anything that makes you file bankruptcy. It's a series of unfortunate events that happen, and then you're in a system that allows you to do that. In Nigeria, you don't.
You don't.
You blame it on bad luck or juju. But let's face it though, if you're in business for yourself, bankruptcy is something that's not too far, because people make investments and then it just doesn't work out.
Yeah,
angle.
Thank you very much for that. Let me ask you a question, because I always want to know, which I believe many other parents of our community would really appreciate this kind of question. So let me talk about race and immigrant experience. How do you think that we experience racism and biases? And how do you think that our experience affects how we talk to our children about their Blackness and their African identity?
I don't know that the racism affects the way we talk to our children. I don't know that, because the way we talk to our children in America is the way we talk to our children in Nigeria, and there's no racism in Nigeria.
Yeah.
There's ethnicity. There's ethnicism in Nigeria. And ethnicism has nothing to do with the way we talk to our children in Nigeria.
Okay.
The way we talk to our children in Nigeria is the way we talk to our children in America.
Yeah.
Racism occurs in America to Chinese people or Asian, to Jewish people in their own way. It happens to African Americans. It happens to Jamaican. So the way we talk to our children is different in all of those ethnicities that I just named.
Yeah, because why I asked that, because as an immigrant, we use immigrant experience to actually, talk to our children, like whereby we believe, if you go to school, do what you're supposed to do, just follow the rules and everything should be fine. You will not get into any trouble. Because of a lack of experience as an immigrant about issue of race, because we didn't come from a racialized society. We came from a society where ethnicity is what actually matters. So when we come here, when it comes to actually addressing the issue of race with our children, many of our people don't understand that, and we don't know anything about that. We just tell them, listen, follow through and do what you're supposed to do. An average Black family will talk to their children about what it is when you meet a police officer. What are the process of what you have to do, what to look for, how to conduct yourself. But when it comes to immigrant, especially African immigrants, whereby we're the new population of people that I would say we're new in this country, even though we might be here since the 60s, but the experience is not there for us. So that's why I asked that kind of question.
Honestly, I'm not sure how to approach the question, because I, for one, do not talk to my kids about how to act in front of the police. And I say that as someone who lives in Texas, as a woman who last summer, when my kids were exercising in the neighborhood, somebody called the police on them as they were just running in the neighborhood in their exercise clothes. And the police car followed them to our house, and I made a U-turn and then went away, which is what led me to write my book called How to Teach Your Children About Racism. Because we've lived in the neighborhood for 10 years, and yet somebody felt they should call the police on them. And the reason I don't do that is because we have seen in America that it doesn't matter how you act in front of them. And so I don't know what to tell my child. Unless you're not, just don't breathe, because the police is going to feel threatened, even though they're the one that has the gun and they're the one that has everything, and my child is the one that is scared that the police stop them. The police is still going to shoot them. This is a fact, which is why I spell America with 3 Ks. Go back to the history of how police came. The original history of how police came in America was because of slavery. They got the police and their dogs to chase the people, the slaves who were trying to escape. So there is indoctrinated in the police to find and hunt down Black and brown people. So it doesn't matter how my child acts. Last August, when I was driving my other son to school in Texas, we saw a little boy in the middle of the road that the police was asking him questions and checking his car. And I told my son, we made a U-turn and went back and stayed with the boy. And I told the police, I said, this is what I'm doing. I'm staying with this boy because this boy is my son. I did a 2 minutes and 50-second Facebook Live video. The video got viewed over 100,000 times because I said, stay with my son. I don't know the boy, but it was in the middle of the highway in Texas. Everybody's going 100 miles an hour. He's the only one there with the white policeman. I couldn't take it. I made a U-turn and I came back and I pulled over and I brought out my hand and I said, police, I'm here to stay with this boy because that's my son. When the policeman was done, he came and told me that was a very brave thing that I did and thanked me and told me that I should go about my business, whatever. And then the boy came and the boy hugged me and said, please, auntie, are you Nigerian? And I said, yes. And he said, my parents are Nigerian. I don't know the boy. I've never seen before. I know the funny thing. We looked for that video a few weeks ago. Facebook took it down.
Wow.
Why would Facebook take a video down? A 3-minute video of a Black woman pulling over to stay with a Black boy. Why would Facebook take it down? So when I say racism is a whole nother department, it is.
It's in the structure, it's in the institution.
Exactly. It's systemic and it's systematic. Those are the 2 things. It's systemic and it's systematic. There's no reason. Facebook has nothing to gain, but the video went viral. It got over 100,000 views and they took it down. Why?
Which is sad.
I don't know. But they took it down. So the point I'm trying to make is I'm doing my part. Me, I am doing my part. My dad said, oh, that was a very dangerous thing. The police, I said, you know what? That is true. The policeman could have shot me. But I'm sure on that highway, there were pastors passing that boy that day. But there are the Christians out there. So again, I'm not here to toot my horn or so I can go to heaven. That's when I'm dead, I'm dead. But when I see something happening, I did that day because I believe that boy needed somebody to see him that day and stay with him. He didn't end up finding anything in his car.
It's a commendable act that you did, and I believe many people are now doing that, and it's a very good example of us as a community coming together. I want to use this forum to educate many of our community as an African who may listen to this. When it comes to LGBTQ plus and mental health, as I said earlier, this is a forum where we talk about uncomfortable conversation within our community and as well as to educate. So can you tell me how or when your son came out to you about his sexuality and what were your first thoughts?
So again, my child is not a son. They are non-binary. So they do not identify as male or female. So again, my child is a young adult not son or daughter. I have to, first of all, unlearn all of the lies that I've been told, and then learn the truth. So first and foremost, when my child was 2 years old, I told my mom, I said, I think he's gay. When he was 2, or between 2 and 3. And my mother, a Catholic, was like, oh my God, don't say that. Bring the holy water, this, that, and the other. But I said, I know, I can feel it. And that's all I said. When they were 12 years old, I asked them, do you think you're gay? And they were like, Mom, I'm not sure yet. And I said, that's okay. I still love you. And then when they were 16, then they came out officially as gay, but I'd already known. I tell that story because I want people to know that parents always know. I'm yet to find a parent that will be honest with themselves by themselves, not for me. It's not about Dr. Lulu. Telling the truth is never about the other person. It's about your own freedom, freeing yourself. Most parents would say that, I've always suspected. I kind of sort of knew. I wasn't sure. I was waiting. Many of them would say, my brother is gay. We have gay people in our family. Many of them would say that. Mm-hmm. While there's no gay gene, there are parts of the chromosome that they found that have been associated with that in the family. Studies are still ongoing. Research is still ongoing because that's what people do. Have a question, you seek to go find the answer. And I know the answer is not too far away because I know, like I said at the beginning, that I have family members in that state. Many people just, again, go back to saying because it's popular doesn't make it right. So I knew when they were 2 or 3, I suspected highly because they didn't want to play with traditional male boy toys. They just wanted to just play with soft animals and like classical music and just like to listen to jazz music but just a different kind of energy. Mm-hmm. When my second child came, I was like, I knew it because that kid hit the ground running. All the toys, trains and planes and cars and all of that. Boys. But my eldest was like, no, I don't really want to do that. Yeah. I don't want to play soccer. I don't really want to do that. And that's okay. And I had to learn. I said, yeah, this child doesn't want to do this. That doesn't mean that I was fully understanding. And that's what I want parents to know. You don't have to fully understand something to support it. I say that because we're only using 10% of our brain, mm-hmm. which means there's a lot that we don't know. And so don't limit yourself by saying, well, I don't know it or I don't understand it yet. Really, you are stunting yourself in your little fish bowl. Mm-hmm. Going back to just even being gay, period. When I was 16, I told my dad that I like girls. My dad said, I think it's a phase. I use my story because, like I said, I'm the intersection between my ancestors and the future. My own story, my dad said, I don't know. I think maybe it's a phase, you're going to grow out of it. I say that because children love and crave. They love and crave validation. Mm-hmm. And when a child's parent says, I don't think so, the child will say, okay, because you're my parent, I want to do something to please you. Yeah. Children want to please their parents fundamentally. And they don't want to do anything that will make their parents feel disappointed. And that means sometimes going against everything that they know that they are, that they believe, that they about themselves, just so that their parents will accept them. Which is why there's such a high rate of suicide amongst LGBTQ Black. I'm not even talking about the country of origin now. Black people, even in Nigeria. I have a friend of mine on Instagram who told me they will never come out until their parents die. Is that what you want as a parent? That your child is praying for you to die before they can come out? Because as far as it's concerned, he doesn't want to lose out on his inheritance. Really? So I want parents to understand that it is bigger than you. And that's why it's not your place to understand it. And that's actually not fair, because we as human beings, we support our friends without understanding. Oh, you know what? I don't know what you see in that guy, but I'm going to come to the wedding. I don't know why you want to move to San Diego, but I'm going to come and visit you. I don't know why you're staying in your job, but I'll come and see. You know, we do that. But when it's our child, well, I don't understand it, so I'm not going to support it. What kind of temper tantrum is that?
It's part of what I've always discussed on this forum, because our children are like a reflection of our identity outside. The same thing that I talked about when it comes to children's specialization in school, we want to be able to raise a doctor, lawyer, engineer. We force certain things on them, because when we go outside, we will earn that respect.
Unfortunately, that is one of the worst traits of being a parent, expecting your child to do and be what you were unable to do and be. Your child is not for you to live vicariously through. When my first child went to Stanford, it was like, oh, are they going to be no, he doesn't want to, no, they don't want to be a doctor. No, they don't like to become a doctor. Oh, are you, no, none of my kids is even going to medical school. It's not about me wanting my child. How my parents were not even successful in getting me to do what they wanted me to do. Why will I let my child? And I see that a lot in almost every single immigrant. Their child must go to medical school. Listen, I'm a doctor. Fuck that. Going to medical school is not easy. If being a doctor was so good, why is it that doctors have the highest rate of suicide? Why? So please, like I said before, I'm not Wole Soyinka, but there are things I can teach him. And I say that only because he's such a learned man and I just respect him so much. I don't know anything else about him, but I know that there's some things I can teach him. So I am a doctor. I'm telling you that people in the medical field die by suicide every single day. 1.1 doctors, 1.1. So more than one doctor dies every day by suicide on a daily basis in America. Medicine must not be the answer. So when parents are forcing their kids to do stuff, they need to stop and think. Is it because of you? Are you trying to make it about you? That's why I say when it comes to LGBTQ, whether it's Nigerian or African or Venezuelan, it doesn't matter. Parents are making it about them. Oh, what will my friends say? Or what will the church say? Or what will my coworkers say? It's not about you. And my child told me that. My child said, Mom, it's not about you. And that's when I was like, oh my God, you're right. I'm making this about me. I'm making this about me.
You listen to him.
To them. I'm making it about me. But this is not, but that's okay. But this is not even about, I found out that my child was non-binary last year. I've known that they were gay when they were 2. They came out as gay when they were 16. And that's why I said, let's talk about just gender today. There are 2 things. There's sexuality and then there's gender. Mm-hmm. My child is at the intersection of being Black, being gay, and being non-binary. Mm-hmm. Gay or LGBTQ or queer is sexuality for them, which means who are you emotionally, physically, and sexually attracted to? That is sexuality. Gender is who do you identify as? I am a cisgendered, bisexual woman. Me. Mm-hmm. Cisgender means my body, as I see it in my brain, is that of a woman, and my brain feels like a woman. When you see a transgender person, their body represents a different gender than their brain. Mm-hmm. And I cannot tell you, Kemi, if you tell me that you feel like a woman, that you should not feel like a woman. I can't tell you that. Nobody can tell somebody else their gender. And so when somebody said that, when a child said that, Mom, I feel like I'm a boy, it's not the same thing as I want to be a boy. Because when I was pregnant, 9 months pregnant, I wished I was a man because of the heat and my stomach and my body. I did not want to be a woman. That's not the same thing as I feel. It's a feeling that is an intentional, present moment that only the individual identifies with. So you can't tell a child, don't say that. You're not really that. That's not fair.
So how did your family, extended family, even your ex-husband, took your child coming out?
So I told you at the beginning that my ex-husband is homophobic, but now he's coming around. But it's already, I don't care. That's a part of my life that I burned the bridge, literally, after that divorce. Now, here's the thing about family. When you tell your family something categorically, they have two choices. They can accept it or they cannot accept it. Mm-hmm. You do not make it about you trying to get your family to accept. My whole family accept my oldest son as they are.
Okay.
My oldest child as they are. But guess what? I've never gone to ask, do you accept? Because that's not the most important thing. As the child's parent, I could be the only child and all my family members are dead. My child still needs my undivided support. Because after all, there are people who don't have parents anymore, who don't have siblings, never had. Your child is not worried about, does uncle accept me? Does aunt know? Mom, dad, do you accept me? Mm-hmm. And if you do, then that's all that matters. Mm-hmm. If God wanted to send my child to be my brother's child, God would have sent my child to be my brother's child. And so today, I just tell them, like I'm telling you, if we have a conversation, their pronoun is they, them, and they're not he, him. I tell them categorically, we're not discussing it, you see. You as the parent, you are in control more than you think. Mm-hmm. You own this. This is yours to own. If you strongly support somebody, you will do the same thing. If you support, I don't know, I'm just going to toss out Michelle Obama, for instance. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be saying, yeah, well, you know, you are right. No, you say, no. Listen, Michelle Obama is such and such and such. You will declare it categorically. And when you tell the person, if the person doesn't accept it, it's based on their own thinking, not yours. Because your job is to just tell them a fact and leave it at that. And say, but if you're going to come around me, then you're going to do it this way, around me. Because for me, my child is number one. When you give them that ultimatum, people think in the world that, I cannot do without. No, you can. Because for your child, it's a matter of life and death. It's a matter of killing themselves while you're worried that, is my child going to get married? I'm worried about having grandchildren. Your child might not even live that long. They might have cancer tomorrow.
You know what? I just interviewed a young lady from Ghana. She has an organization called Child Free Africa, whereby she's indicated that she's not having no children. She said, it's not because I don't like children, but I'm not just going to be a mother. And there's so many people also under that category. So a lot of time, parents tend to push things.
My eldest child doesn't want to be a parent either. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Honestly, we just, as humans, just need to learn how to let somebody have agency of their own decisions. Mm-hmm. If she doesn't want to have a kid, that's fantastic. Because I would rather have someone who knows that they don't want to have a parent for whatever reason than someone who has a child and doesn't raise the child. Because nobody asked you to be a parent. My child said that on my podcast. They said parents need to decide that if you're going to be a parent, then you must be a parent that is a present and intentional parent. You don't say, okay, I'm a parent, but I don't really want to parent you. No, you don't get that. You don't get to do that. Mm-hmm. You don't, because your child did not ask you to have them. Mm-hmm. You chose to have them. And really, that's the truth. So your job is to support your child, whether you agree, whether you support, whether you understand or whatever, or not, because they didn't ask you to give birth to them.
Yeah.
And because your child truly has a lot more, your Black child in America has a lot more to worry about than their sexuality. Mm-hmm. And I say this all the time. I don't go around saying, there's my heterosexual neighbor. I don't do that. I'm not worried about their sexuality, for goodness sake. That's 1% of who they are. Mm-hmm. And so when you start making it a big deal, you need to ask yourself why you feel you need to make it a big deal. What are your own limited belief system that is making you worry so much about somebody that you say, oh, I hate that guy. That is really a reflection of how you feel about yourself. Otherwise, the guy is just minding his own business. The woman or the girls that are holding hands, are in a relationship, whatever, they are minding their own business. And you are over here taking Panadol for somebody else's headache.
How can a listener connect with you?
So I am on social media trying to build up my Instagram. It's at Ask the Word Doctor. Then my last name is Lulu. So Ask Dr. Lulu. That's my Instagram, Facebook, as a matter of fact. My website is www.dr-lulu.com. And I have a free PDF that I want as many people as possible to get a hold of, which says 10 things you should know about raising your LGBTQ plus child. There's so many things we could talk about. It's definitely not a 1 hour conversation. Just for this, for instance, it's the last time they did a research, a study, they found out that less than 50% of children aged 13 to 24 are straight. Less than 60%. So chances that you, Kemi, your child is also LGBT. And because they don't come out to you, doesn't mean that they don't know. Because if the child doesn't feel safe, they're not going to come out. Like I said at the beginning, if they hear how you say maybe homophobic things, they'll never tell you who they are because they hear you and they see you, and children are a product of their environment. They're not going to say that because they don't want their parents to feel disappointed, like I said at the beginning. Children crave love and attention and support from their parents. Nobody chooses something that's going to be that their parents are going to disown them. Nobody chooses that. I'm going to choose to be gay when I know that in some countries I'm going to get killed for it. Let people think about that before they carry their Bible. And they're just as sinful as I am if you really look deep inside, you know? So I'm going to end at that. I have a lot of resources, videos, books, articles, all kinds of things.
So thank you so much, Dr. Lulu, for normalizing conversation about LGBTQ plus and their allies within African immigrant community and beyond. And you are also addressing mental health awareness. You're a public speaker about youth suicide prevention. As I always said, as we openly discuss complex issues within our community, we're shredding away stigma connected with this uncomfortable conversation. I thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I mean, just for all it's worth, it's important to have the conversation, and it's important to just allow yourself to be uncomfortable, because for your child, they've been dealing with that their whole life. So it's time for the parent to be a little bit uncomfortable too. And there's nothing wrong with you as a parent, unless, of course, you now decide to think that there's something wrong with you. So what I ask my clients all the time is, what are you making that mean about you? That your child is gay, what are you making it mean about you? Once you remove yourself from the equation, you will see that your child is just who they've always been. And you can love them or do whatever you want to do, but your child is going to be who they're going to be. And in the end, your child will still come out, even if you disown them or all of that, it doesn't really matter in the end, because your child is who they are. And that's all she wrote.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Ponza Ponza Live podcast. We hope to have you back with us in the next episode as we continue to explore the nuances of the African immigrant experience. If you'd like to connect with us, you can email us at talk@ponsaponsa.org. That is talk@pansapansa.org. And follow us on Instagram at pansa.pansaforum. Until next time, remember to spread kindness and love. Thank you, and take care of yourself.